Out of the way, Grandpa. This seat's for paying customers. The voice was loud, sharp, and soaked in mockery. The old man, his hand trembling around a weathered cane, barely managed to steady himself before the bar stool was yanked out from beneath him. He staggered, his knees buckling slightly, and dropped heavily into the next seat. A Navy veteran cap slipped off his head and hit the linoleum floor. A second biker, younger, meaner, kicked it across the room like it was trash. Laughter followed, sharp, cruel, loud enough to turn heads. The small-town diner had never felt so quiet. Forks froze halfway to mouths. A couple near the window went still. The waitress behind the counter stopped pouring coffee, her hand trembling just slightly. No one said anything. No one moved. The man they were mocking had wrinkles carved deep by time and war. His coat bore the stitched emblem of the USS Hornet, 82 years old, barely mobile, wheelchair behind him. But there was a dignity in his silence, in the way he slowly reached down to pick up his cap, only to find it had been kicked too far. Instead, he straightened himself, hands flat on the counter, and asked the waitress for coffee. "You even fight in a real war, old man?" The lead biker sneered, stepping closer. His denim vest bore patches that meant nothing to real soldiers. "Or you just play dress-up for free pancakes?" Still, the old man didn't flinch. He took a slow sip of his coffee, eyes ahead, spine straight, voice gone. But something in him cracked, just a flicker, when the second biker reached out and flicked the metals on his coat with 2 fingers and a smug smirk. No one moved, not the waitress, not the cook. The fear was thick. No one knew what would happen if someone said something, but everyone knew it had gone too far. Then exactly 12 minutes later, the bell above the diner door chimed. 3 men stepped inside. No fanfare, no noise. They weren't dressed in uniform, but you could feel it. The way they moved, the way they looked around, alert, precise, scanning every inch of the room like they were trained to do it. One wore a tan ball cap, low over his face, his jaw stubbled, eyes hidden behind shades. The second was broad, scar across his chin, eyes hard as granite. The third walked with a limp, slow and steady, but his gaze, laser sharp, flicked instantly to the old man at the bar. No one knew who they were yet, but you could feel it, the shift in the air. Predators had just walked into the wrong territory. The lead biker turned around and chuckled. "You 3 lost? This ain't the recruiting office." The man in the tan cap didn't smile. He pointed toward the veteran at the bar. "That man over there. Name's Chief Petty Officer Gerald Whitman. Navy, decorated, combat tested, taught half of our instructors. We heard you laid hands on him." The diner held its breath. The biker scoffed. "So what? He's just an old man. Looks like he barely remembers his name." The second man stepped forward and picked up the kicked-away Navy cap. He dusted it off, then gently placed it back on Whitman's head with both hands. Not like it was a hat, but a crown. "That old man saw more combat in one tour than you'll ever watch in movies." The third man, the one with the limp, finally spoke. "You've got 2 choices. You apologize and leave quietly, or we remind you how Navy SEALs end problems." The biker's bravado faltered. He looked around. No one was laughing now. The waitress was near tears. The cook's hand hovered near the phone just in case. The diners at the tables weren't scared anymore. They were waiting, but the bikers didn't choose wisely. The leader took a step forward, cracking his knuckles. "Big words for—" He didn't finish. What happened next wasn't loud. There were no punches, no broken plates, no screams, just precision. The SEALs moved like water, efficient, controlled. The leader found himself face down on the floor, his cheek pressed into the tiles, arms pinned neatly behind his back. The other 2 were quietly escorted out the door, neither of them daring to resist. They weren't beaten, they were removed. And just like that, the threat was gone. Chief Whitman sat still, hand trembling slightly as he finished his coffee. One of the SEALs sat beside him. "Sir," he said softly, "you okay?" Whitman looked up, smiled just faintly, and nodded. "Didn't think I'd need backup in a diner." The men chuckled. The tension melted into respect. One of them handed the waitress enough cash to cover everyone's meals. Another wiped the floor where the cap had landed. The third helped Gerald to his feet and into his wheelchair with careful, wordless dignity. Before they left, the cook called out, "Thank you." But the seal in the tan cap shook his head. "Don't thank us. Thank him. We just follow the example." As they exited, the diner filled with a strange kind of quiet. Not fear, but reverence. No one would forget what they saw. Not because it was loud, but because it was right. The next day, someone placed a sign above the corner booth where the old man sat. It read, "Reserved for Chief Whitman, hero, fighter, brother." Before we wrap up, tell us in the comments where you're watching from. If this story moved you, hit that like button, share your thoughts, and subscribe to be part of this growing community of dreamers and doers. Your next life-changing story might be just one click away.